Greetings my fellow knights and welcome back to Recon by Fire. For today's battle, the greyknights are playing the Banishers detachment and are led by Castellan Crowe and a 10-man squad of Purifers. They're also bringing a Grandmaster leading an 8-man squad of Paladins, a Librarian leading 4 Terminators, 2x5 Strike Squads, 2x5 Interceptor Squads, a Techmarine, a Callidus Assassin, 2x5 Sisters of Battle, and an Immolator. Steve is piloting the Salamanders in the Gladius detachment, and he's bringing Vulkan Histon leading a company hero squad inside of a Land Raider that's also carrying a captain in Gravis armor with 3 Aggressors, an Impulsor carrying 5 Infernus Marines, a Repulsor carrying Adrax with 6 Blade Guard veterans, 3 Eradicators led by a Biologis, an ATV, a squad of Infiltrators, a squad of Scouts, and Canis Rex as an ally. Of note, this battle report was recorded before the points update, so it is slightly overcosted, but only because of Canis. For today's battle, we are playing Mission Pack Delta, which is Scorched Earth. Deployment is Tipping Point, and we are playing on terrain layout number 2. For pre-game actions, the Strike Squad will push onto the natural expansion. Salamander Scouts will move back into the building behind cover. And the second squad of Strikes will simply push forward into the corner. Top of round 1, and the greyknights are going first. They will draw Assassination and a Tempting Target as their secondaries for the turn. Salamanders select the southern objective as Vulkan's target, and the Tempting Target is the center objective. Start of the movement phase, and the Strike Squad will continue to push into that corner and out of line of sight. Considering the other side of the building too exposed due to the nearby Repulsor, the Interceptors will follow behind the Strike Squad. Due to Canis being nearby, the Strikes will simply get on the objective and off the template. Interceptors will move towards the center objective and the Redeemer, but make sure to remain outside of 12 inches to avoid the Flamer Overwatch. Terminators will advance into the center building the stage for next turn. At the start of the shooting phase, the Interceptors will shoot into the Redeemer doing absolutely nothing, but then fire and fade to where they are move blocking the Land Raider and preventing Canis from going through the wall. I picked up this neat little trick from Objective Secured, so make sure to go check out their channel. The link is in the description. That is going to end the turn for the greyknights. They will score 5 points for attempting target and discard Assassination for a command point. Bottom of round 1 for the Salamanders, they will draw a Storm Hostile Objective and no prisoners as their secondaries for the turn. Start of the movement phase, Canis Rex will push up against the wall but stay off the template. Interceptors will remain in place. The Land Raider will inch forward in hopes of intimidating the Interceptors, but they will hold fast. Gravis Captain and the Aggressors will disembark the Land Raider, and since they are now able to charge, that's going to be enough for the Interceptors to spend a command point to Shadows of Anarch back into Deep Strike. Superb sequencing from Steve will now allow the ATV to advance onto the center objective. That is going to end a quick turn for the Salamanders. They will score 4 points for Storm Hostile Objective and discard no prisoners for a command point. At the end of the turn, greyknights will pick up Crowe and Company, the Techmarine, and the Callidus Assassin. Top of round 2 for the greyknights, they will draw Extend Battle Lines and Defend Stronghold as their secondaries for the turn. They control 2 objectives and will score 10 points on primary. Sisters of Battle will sticky the home objective, and the Strike Squad will sticky the natural expansion. Start of the movement phase, Interceptors are going to push forward 12 inches to threaten the Scout Squad. Strikes are going to move into the building to touch the objective and hide as much as possible. Second squad of Strikes are going to advance to stay an inch off the wall and prevent Canis from being able to go over the wall yet again. The Brick of Paladins will push forward to get line of sight on the Aggressors. The Librarian and Company are going to advance to get as close to the ATV as possible. They do finish within 9 inches, and the Salamanders are going to spend a command point on squad tactics, reactive moving the ATV away from the Terminators. Crowe and company are going to arrive from deep strike with line of sight on both the ATV and the squad of aggressors. Sisters of Battle will disembark, remaining behind the wall, staging for next turn. Immolator will reposition to get line of sight on the aggressors. The Callidus assassin will position inside the building to potentially vac the center. With no secondaries to score, the Techmarine will simply arrive to screen out the backfield. Interceptors decide to join it. At the end of the movement phase, Salamanders will spend a command point to rapid ingress the Impulsor near the Interceptors. At the start of the shooting phase, the Immolator will fire into the aggressors, nothing doing, but it will strip cover. Crowe and the Purifers will fire everything into the aggressors now. The captain will use his once per round ability for a free Armor of Contempt. 2 of the aggressors go down and the 3rd is wounded. The Paladins will fire everything into the aggressors, and the half damage from the captain does some work and it will survive at just 4 wounds. Interceptors into the ATV, but no joy. They elect not to fire and fade so they can charge the scouts. Into charges, and the greyknights will spend a command point on celerity, allowing the Terminator squad to advance in charge. They roll a 9, which was a little too much than what they wanted, but they will get into the ATV on the center objective. Interceptors go for the scouts behind the wall. They roll a 5 on their first one, command reroll, and they roll a 7. Terminators score sustained hits, swinging into the ATV, and easily make short work of it. That is going to end the turn for the greyknights. They will score 4 points for extend battle lines and discard defend stronghold for a command point. Salamanders are going to pick up the scout squad. Bottom of round 2 for the Salamanders, they will draw a tempting target, which they'll cycle away with new orders, drawing Marked for Death and Assassination as their secondaries for the turn. They control 1 objective and will score 5 points on primary. They will enter the Tactical Doctrine. Marked for Death targets are the Callidus Assassin, the Sisters of Battle on the home objective, and the Strike Squad. Gamma target are the Interceptors on Vulkan's objective. Oath of Moment are the Terminators on the center objective. At the start of the movement phase, the Captain and Gravis armor will hop back into the Land Raider. Canis is unable to reach the other side of the crate, so he will simply tow into the ruin. The Land Raider is going to get aggressive, and with a pivot will get directly onto the center objective. Terminators are going to Shadows of Anarch for a command point back into Deep Strike. Repulsor is going to make a beeline for the Interceptors. The Impulsor is going to do the same thing. Adrax and the Blade Guard vets are going to disembark within 3 inches of the Redeemer, and Vulkan with the command squad will disembark from the Repulsor. With nothing doing, the scout squad will return close to where they left to screen out the backfield. Greyknights are going to spend a command point to rapid ingress the Terminators in line of sight of just the Impulsor, making sure at least 2 of them are behind cover. Start of the shooting phase, and the Impulsor with the Infernus Marines shooting out of firing deck will fire into the Interceptors on the objective. Greyknights will spend their final command point on Warding Chant to give them a 5+ Feel No Pain against 1 damage attacks for the remainder of the phase. After everything is all said and done, 1 Interceptor gets picked up. Vulkan and company will fire into the same squad and pick up 1 more Interceptor. Not wanting to leave anything to chance, the Repulsor will send everything into the same squad and finally picks up the entire thing. The Land Raider Redeemer will fire into the Strike Squad with significantly more success, picking up the entire squad. Canis Rex fires into the Paladins at high intensity, using its stratagem discount to reroll the number of shots, but the Paladins roll high on their 4-up Invuls and only takes a single model down. It's charge o'clock, and the Blade Guard veterans with Adrax make the dual charge into both the Sisters and the Callidus Assassin. This is going to hurt. Callidus Assassin will fight first, electing not to use precision on her weapon, and only scores 2 wounds on a Blade Guard vet. Adrax and a Blade Guard vet swing into the Callidus Assassin, and the hammer cracks her head wide open, picking her up. The other 2 Blade Guard vets will swing into the Sisters. They roll hot on their saves and actually only pick up a single model. That is going to end the turn for the Salamanders. They will score 5 points for assassination and 5 points for taking down their marked for death target. At the end of the turn, greyknights will pick up the lone Techmarine. Top of round 3, and if you're still watching, it would be most excellent if you hit that like and subscribe button so we know you want to see more content like this. Greyknights are going to draw Display of Might and bring it down as their secondaries for the turn. They control 2 objectives and will score 10 points on primary. Paladins will res their fallen brother closer to the Land Raider. Terminators are still oathed and will move towards Vulkan and the Impulsor to bait out the Overwatch, but no joy. Strike Squad will get all 5 on the objective, hoping to steal it away from the Salamanders. Interceptors are going to thread the needle, moving in between their own troops and position just outside of engagement range. Sisters of Battle are going to fall back from Adrax's squad. This will trigger Steve's trap card, allowing Adrax and company to reactive move a flat 6 inches to the other side of the wall. Crowe will send 2 of the Purifers to get as close to Adrax's squad as possible to limit the charge, but everyone else will remain in line of sight of Vulkan. The Immolator will do a slight reposition to see both Vulkan squad and the Land Raider. Sisters of Battle will move towards the Immolator and hop in. Techmarine will arrive on the home objective to screen out the scouts next turn. The Paladins stayed on the ground for a reason and will make their full movement towards the Land Raider and Adrax's squad. Salamanders fire Overwatch with the Redeemer and it picks up only a single Terminator. Start of the shooting phase, the Immolator will split fire, sending the Hunter Killer into the Land Raider Redeemer, knocking off 4 wounds, and the Bolters into Vulkan squad, knocking off 2 more wounds, but more importantly, stripping cover. The Paladins will send everything into Adrax squad, and thanks to the enhancement for +1 AP, it takes out all the Blade Guard vets, leaving the hero alone. Crowe and the Purifiers send everything into Vulkan squad. In response, Salamanders will pop Armor of Contempt, and in the end, only 2 of the command squad fall. The Strikes, Interceptors, and Terminators all fire into Vulkan squad after that, and pick up the remainder of the command squad, but Vulkan's Feel No Pains come in clutch and he survives. It's charge o'clock, and the Paladins just barely make it into the Land Raider with a 7, allowing the front man to touch base to base. The remainder of the squad will hopefully make it into combat with the pile-in. Crowe and the Purifiers make their charge into Adrax through the wall. Interceptors make the charge into the Impulsor, but make sure to leave room for the Infernus Marines to disembark. The Librarian and company will make the charge into the Impulsor. The Strike Squad will attempt to charge Vulkan. In response, it will trigger the Repulsor's ability, allowing Vulkan to hop back in, and the Strikes will then charge the Repulsor surrounding it. Just in case some of the Paladins have to pile into Adrax, the Purifiers will swing first and take down the hero. All but 2 of the Paladins can swing into the Land Raider. They score lethal hits on the attack as well as 3 damage and make short work of it. It does not explode, and the Gravis captain will disembark on the far side. Terminators are going first. They will score lethals and swing into the Impulsor, hoping to pop it open so the Interceptors can pile in to the Infernus Marines, but it survives at a single wound. Interceptors swing into the Impulsor, plinking off the final wound as expected. It does not explode, and the Infernus Marines disembark in the only position they have. The Strike Squad will fail their leadership check for lethals and swing into the Repulsor, knocking off 2 wounds, and actually take a wound on the crackback. That is going to end the turn for the Greyknights. They will score 4 points for Display of Might and 4 points for Bring It Down. At the end of the turn, Salamanders are going to pick up the Scout Squad. Bottom of round 3, and the Salamanders will draw behind enemy lines and extend battle lines as their secondaries for the turn. They control 1 objective and will score 5 points on primary. They will enter the Assault Doctrine. The Paladin brick on the center objective is now the Oath of Moment. At the start of the movement phase, Vulkan will disembark the Repulsor. The Eradicators with the Biologis will also disembark. The Repulsor will proceed to fall back just outside of engagement range. The Captain in Gravis armor will move on to the center objective. Canis Rex will pivot and then move just outside of engagement range of the Paladins. That is good enough for them, so they will use the Grandmaster's discount on Shadows of Anarch to nope on out of there. Vulkan and the Eradicators will then move in front of the Repulsor. The scouts are going to arrive off the board edge, way behind enemy lines, out of line of sight and any direct contact from the enemy. At the end of the movement phase, the Grandmaster is going to rapid ingress back inside the building and off the template to be out of line of sight. Start of the shooting phase, and Canis Rex will fire into the Purifiers, picking up 3 in cover and the 1 nearest to him. The Eradicators fire into the Terminators and pick up 2 of them. The Infernus Marines into the Terminators absolutely pop off, picking up 1 more and leaving the final one at a single wound. Vulkan will finish the volley off strong, taking down the final Terminator and leaving the Librarian at just 3 wounds remaining. 1 CP for adaptive strategy, allowing the Repulsor to fall back and shoot, and it will split fire, sending the Hunter Seeker into the Librarian, picking it up. And the rest of the weapon systems go into the Strike Squad, picking up 2 of them. Time for charges, Canis needs an 11 to make it into the Purifiers and rolls a 5. Vulkan makes his charge into the Strike Squad and will move on to the objective to get his Feel No Pain. Vulkan unfortunately whiffs on the rolls and only takes down 1 Grey Knight. Double whammy as the strikes score sustained hits and roll pretty hot and take Vulkan off the board. Triple whammy as they now consolidate onto the objective, which really shouldn't have happened. That is going to end the turn for the Salamanders. They will score 3 points for behind enemy lines and 4 points for extend battle lines. At the end of the turn, greyknights will pick up the Techmarine and Crowe with the Purifiers. Top of round 4 for the greyknights, they will draw Overwhelming Force and engage on all fronts as their secondaries for the turn. They control 2 objectives and will score 10 points on primary. Start of the movement phase, and the Paladin Brick will move in on the Repulsor. The 2 remaining strikes will bravely run away. Interceptors will move in on the Infernus Marines. Sisters of Battle will move through the wall to get onto the center objective and in line of sight on the Captain in Gravis armor. The Immolator will reposition to see the Repulsor, but out of line of sight from Canis. Crowe and company will arrive 9 inches away from the Scout Squad in hopes of taking away a scoring piece. The Techmarine will remain in deep strike, and we move on to the shooting phase. The Sisters of Battle will chuck a grenade into the Captain, but only suffers a single wound. Sisters then fire into the Captain, and it survives at a single wound. The Paladins that are outside the building fire into the Gravis Captain and finally take the hero down. Ooh. The remainder of the squad will fire into the Eradicators, plinking off 2 wounds. The Immolator and the Interceptors will fire into the Eradicators next, picking up 1 of them. Crowe and company burninate the scouts and get them out of here. It's charge o'clock, and the Paladins score boxcars on their charge. They only charge the Repulsor, but will move the unit in a way where they're able to pile into some of the Eradicators. Interceptors will make the charge into the Infernus Marines, but they will fire Overwatch and manage to pick up 2 of them and wound a 3rd. That is huge. Interceptors swing into the Infernus Marines and they spike their saves, leaving 1 alive. The Interceptors will politely pile into it. The lone survivor will crack back and picks up the wounded one. They will split attacks, with half going into the Eradicators, picking up the entire squad including the Biologis, and the other half into the Repulsor. It survives at just 3 wounds remaining. That is going to end the turn for the Grey Knights. They will score 3 points for Overwhelming Force and 2 points for Engage on all fronts. The Strike Squad will begin to burn the objective. Bottom of round 4 for the Salamanders, they will draw Established Locus, which they'll cycle away with New Orders, drawing Defend Stronghold and Overwhelming Force as their secondaries for the turn. They get a challenger card this round, and it is Pivotal Moment. They control one objective and will score 5 points on primary. Start of the movement phase, and Canis Rex will make his way onto the center objective. Repulsor will fire into combat, taking down a Paladin and wounding a second. Canis Rex will fire both weapon systems into the Purifiers, picking up one and wounding a second. It's charge o'clock, and Canis makes the charge into the Sisters of Battle. Canis will sweep Freedom's Hand into the Sisters, and they're nothing but graffiti on the walls. Paladins will fight first into the Repulsor and finally take it down. It does not explode. That is going to end the turn for the Salamanders. They will score 3 points for Overwhelming Force. They can go ahead and score 3 points for Defend Stronghold and 3 points for Pivotal Moment. Top of round 5 for the greyknights, they will draw Marked for Death and recover assets as their secondaries for the turn. They control 2 objectives and burn a third to score 15 points on primary. Marked for Death targets are the 2 remaining units. Techmarine will arrive behind enemy lines to recover assets. Paladins will move towards the center objective and Canis Rex. Purifiers will move into the building and begin to burn that objective. Paladins will open fire on Canis Rex, bringing the big guy down to just 20 wounds. Paladins will just barely make it into Canis on the charge, and so 2 of them will not be able to fight. They fail to score lethal hits and only get a few attacks through, so Canis will survive at 15 wounds. Canis will proceed to clap back with Freedom's Hand and scoops up 4 of them. That is going to end the turn for the greyknights. They will score 5 points for recovering assets with 3 units. The Purifier squad will start to burn the objective and hold on to Marked for Death just in case. Last turn of the game, and the Salamanders will draw Secure No Man's Land and recover assets as their secondaries for the turn. Challenger card is Burst of Speed. Our players talk through the final turn, with the Salamanders scoring 2 points on Secure No Man's Land, 10 points for holding 2 objectives, and 5 for Canis burning the center objective. Greyknights will score 5 points for burning their expansion at the end of the game. That is going to make the final score 87-74 in favor of the Sons of Titan. Thank you, Steve, for trying out Canis as an ally. Have you been considering Canis for your army? Let us know in the comments down below. Also, thank you so much for watching. If you've made it to the end of the video and got something out of it, please do consider supporting us by liking, subscribing, and sharing the channel with a friend. If you'd like to support us directly, consider becoming a channel member, as it lets us know you'd like to see more content like this. That will do it for today, friends. So until next time, as always, happy gaming.